astonishingly ingenious in the way it's put together. So can we legitimately describe nature itself as clever or ingenious? Are these qualities intrinsic to nature, or are we simply projecting them onto nature? Could it be we who weave the tapestry of dazzling intellectual subtlety from what is at rock bottom just a banality? Or to put it metaphorically, might nature be a fiendishly clever bit of trickery, the dabblings of a simpleton masquerading as a work of pure genius? I think this gets us to the heart of the matter. Now, we physicists, somewhat arrogantly perhaps, tend to think that the laws of physics are the bedrock of physical reality, the starting point of all scientific explanations. I want to ask, where do the laws of physics come from? Why do they have the form that they do? And in particular, why do they have a form that permits the emergence of living organisms and sentient beings like us who can gaze in wonder at the world about them and reflect on the meaning of existence? Where do these laws come from? There's more to it than us being mere observers. Human beings can do more than just watch the show. Through science and mathematics, which are themselves a product of the human intellect and subject, therefore, to the vagaries of biological evolution, but through science and mathematics, they have yielded the key to the universe. We've uncovered the hidden mathematical subtext as revealed through the invisible laws of nature. And finding this key to the universe was by no means inevitable. I often wonder that if an asteroid had hit Europe 1,000 years ago, whether science, as we know it, would ever have emerged. So you'd never guess, by looking at the world about you, that there is this hidden subtext of nature, this hidden mathematical order. When Newton saw the apple fall, what he saw was a falling apple. What he deduced was a set of mathematical laws that linked the motion of the apple to the motion of the moon and other bodies. So this underlying subtext of nature, these laws, are not apparent from daily life. You have to put in a lot of intellectual effort, but also follow arcane procedures of scientific inquiry to uncover them. So it's an extraordinary thing. We take science for granted, but actually I think we are incredibly privileged to be able to decode nature in this way. The fact that science has uncovered this hidden mathematical order in nature means that we've been made privy to the rules on which the universe runs. How's this come about? How's the universe engineered not just its own self-awareness, but its own comprehension? Mindless, blundering atoms conspiring to make not just life, not just mind, but understanding. Beings who are not able to merely watch the show, but to unravel the plot. Or could it just be a fluke? Might the fact that the deepest level of reality is connected to a quirky natural phenomenon we call the human mind just represent nothing more than a bizarre and temporary aberration in an absurd and pointless universe? Well, maybe that's the case. But I'm always uncomfortable about shrugging aside what seems to be a very significant, a key fact about the world, that it contains thinking beings able to understand, at least in part, what's going on in nature. It seems like a bit of a cop-out to say, well, it's just a fluke, let's move on and not worry about it anymore. And I have long been fascinated to know whether I can come up, or we can come up, with a deeper, more rational explanation, something that tries to connect in a more satisfying way our existence as reflective, comprehending beings with a universe that permits such beings to exist. Now, what sort of explanation might that be? Well, before I explain what it is, I'd like to summarize the standard responses to the question, where do the laws of physics come from? Why do they have the form that they do? Why are they bio-friendly? Why are they mathematical? And so on. Now, one answer, a glib answer, is to just say, well, God made them that way, end of story. Well, it is, of course, the end of discussion, if that's the point of view you take. A familiar scientific answer is to declare that there is no reason at all why the laws of physics are what they are. No reason at all. That's just what they are. That's it. The laws exist reasonlessly. Now, if that is the case, then the universe is ultimately absurd by definition. if there is no reason for why it is as it is. The trouble with that answer is that we must then accept that the mighty edifice of science, founded as it is on logical and rational necessity, the notion that there are reasons for why physical phenomena occur, and that explanations should be logical, is ultimately rooted in absurdity. Can a truly, deeply absurd universe so convincingly mimic a rational one? Well, another response to this is to claim that the laws are uniquely determined by logical and mathematical necessity from some future theory of everything. And as some of you may know, string theory or M theory is a contender. This would be a theory, it is said, with no free parameters, so that the world simply has to be as it is, no choice. I think this claim is so obviously false that I'm not going to dwell on it further here because of time limitations. It can come up in discussion time. I think it's simply wrong for obvious reasons. An increasingly popular scientific response to these questions that I've outlined is to appeal to the notion of a multiverse. Came up briefly yesterday. In this scheme, it said that what we've all along been calling the universe is nothing of the sort. It is just an infinitesimal fragment of a vast, much more elaborate system of many universes, which seems to go under the name of multiverse. Some people prefer megaverse. Now, to make this idea work, you have to assume that these laws of physics, which are otherwise so mysterious, vary from one cosmic patch to another. That is to say that these are not absolute universal eternal laws. They are more like local bylaws or state laws. So just as you have laws in California and laws in Arizona and so on, there's laws in our universe, and if you go to the universe next door, over there, you'll find that maybe those laws are different. And maybe they vary randomly from universe to universe, and then it's no surprise we find ourselves living in a universe consistent with life, because we could scarcely find ourselves in a universe that was hostile to life. So it becomes an anthropic selection effect, is the terminology that people use. Now, a credible mechanism for generating a patchwork quilt of universes of this manner comes from inflationary universe cosmology. I don't have time to discuss this, except to say that it's a mechanism whereby Big Bangs, Stephen Weinberg was referring to this yesterday, Big Bangs sort of pop out, or maybe they're little bangs, pop out of some eternally inflating matrix or background. And in that manner, because of quantum uncertainty, one can populate a vast landscape of different possibilities as predicted by some versions of string theory. So that's the idea, and it's been much discussed. So like baby bear's porridge in the story of Goldilocks, the universe seems to be suspiciously just right for life. But if there's a multiverse of all possible variations of universes, then maybe that's no surprise. Well, this seems progress of a sort, and I say 2 cheers for the multiverse, but it falls short of a complete explanation of existence, because to get the theory to work, you've got to assume a lot of things. For example, a universe-generating mechanism. You have to have a way of populating all of these different patches, so you need a set of meta-laws to generate all the laws, and you need space and time and so on. In fact, in the favored way of generating the multiverse using inflationary cosmology and M theory, there's a host of other baggage, such as quantum mechanics and general relativity and other things I won't bore you with, that you have to assume to get the thing to work. So it's only partway there. What you've done, the multiverse is a help, but it's really shifted the problem up a level from universe to multiverse. So it still doesn't